And what's up, everybody? Good afternoon. It's Monday, time for Master Motivation. My name is Jason Flame, and today I'm joined by our special guest, Mr. Jay Walker. Good afternoon,
Hey,
sir.
hey, how's it going, man?
It's great. It's great. Thanks for taking your lunch break and spending it with me and chatting for a little bit. I'm sure that we may have some comments and questions coming up throughout the next 30 to 45 minutes. Let me just quickly pre-frame the video and where this all started, what how master motivation was created, right? So, as I remind everybody each and every week, as I was heading into 2021, I always like to have a new goal or something that I like to do that makes a major impact, right? Not just a goal for myself, but something that I could do within the community or in our industry. And so, as I'm scrolling through Facebook and sometimes Instagram, there's a little bit of negativity, and it's really easy to pick up on that. So I said, well, to counteract that, why don't we post and produce more positive energy and positive posts? So I said, I know a lot of people that are really motivating, inspiring, some just great people that I think if anybody's watching this video, they're going to take away something that might just change their life. So when I made the list, you definitely came up in the top, and I'm super excited to have you on the show.
Man, I'm glad to be here today. I appreciate working around my schedule too.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, the first memory I have, or when we first met, I was like, "Who's this dude?" He's like pretty badass, but I didn't know you a whole well before, really well before we got into doing Krav and stuff, and then I start to learn more about your history, your backstory, and your experience in martial arts. I'm like, wow, this is definitely a great person to have in our organization, and you've become one of the leaders in AKMF, leading the Simi Valley Krav Maga School, and I have a lot of respect for you and your discipline with your challenges. Every time you throw out a little challenge, I like to kind of grab onto it and see if I can follow along. And we've all pushed each other a bit on 75 hard or our diets or just whatever it is. The 100-day burpee challenge
Oh,
that
that's a lot of
sucked.
fun. Yeah,
That's
that's a lot
actually
of fun.
sucked.
Yeah, I did.
But anyway, well, hey, do me a favor and just kind of introduce yourself. Let everybody know a little bit about your background, and we'll just kind of work from there.
Well, as I know, my name is Jay. I'm originally from Mississippi. I started my journey in martial arts when I, like in around 15 years old, which is around 1985, 86 area. And I've always been interested in martial arts. And I bring that up first because that's how we met. That's where our focus came from is martial arts. I had a passion since I was real young to do martial arts, but I couldn't because I had a lot of health issues. Being brought up by in the 70s, my mom and them didn't really follow that thing about no smoking and all that. So I had a lot of respiratory issues. And until I got up to 15, it sort of came on by accident. But I wanted to do martial arts and I couldn't. And I told my mom, I said, hey, I want to do this. And she said, oh, she thought she'd get me. She said, okay, you keep your grades at an A's and B's, I'll let you do it. I said, fine. So my grades went up because of it. And I started my journey then with in martial arts. At the same time, I was big into fitness. I saw these guys like Jean-Claude Van Damme, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Stallone. I was like, these dudes are awesome. I didn't know about all the extra supplements you had to take and everything, but I said, this is awesome. So I started getting all the crazy, nasty tasting Weeder products and working out my weights at home, putting on some size and doing what I knew I could do. And that just evolved until later when I went to college. I did most of my focus in exercise science and kinesiology. Then I switched over to business, then later went into occupational therapy. But during that whole time from 85 on, I started my own studio in 1988. I started Walker's, it was then called Walker's Tae Kwon Do. Because let me back up a little bit. When I first started, I was in Kyokushin. If anybody knows anything about Kyokushin karate, it's a very strong style of karate. It was after Masatatsu Oyama. And I loved it. It fit what I like doing. It was hardcore. I was 15, 16 years old. I didn't think you could hurt me and doing everything. But I love to fight. Sounds like somebody else we know. But I love to fight, and I would go over and compete everywhere. And I ran to my second instructor. His name's Paul Bird. He's now a lieutenant colonel in the Guard in Mississippi. And I started in the organization. These guys are known for kickboxers and great fighters. And I started fighting with them, and I fell in love with it. And got a chance in 1988 to start running my own school. Started doing that, and then I got out of that, and I started running schools really on site. Started teaching for other people to pay my way through college.
Mm.
So that's where it all started from. The passion has never left. I've even, unfortunately, I'm glad most of them don't remember it, but I even fortunately had some girlfriends at the time that said, all you do is go and compete and work out. I said, okay, well, does that mean we're done then? I need to move back to what I'm doing. So, but I'm lucky now that my wife, she loves my passion. She understands what I do. So she's 100% behind us. So that makes a big difference.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey, tell us a little bit about growing up in Mississippi. Were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Mississippi. A little different life than a lot of my peers. A lot of people hear the story at my studio, but my father was a World War II veteran. Him and his brother both fought in World War II. These are the guys, they walked out of World War II. It's just like they went on vacation. I mean, they're not, it's just completely different. So I was raised on a farm. I've had to work on the farm my whole life. And I remember one time telling my dad, Dad, I need to go work my legs. I got to go to the gym. He said, okay. So at the time, for fun, to give you out the difference in age, my dad was 45 when he had me. So he was around 55 at the time. So, okay, you want to work your legs? He hooked me to a plow, and I had to plow the field. That was my workout for my legs. So it's a small town. I think now it's maybe 2,500 people in this small town. Very close community of people. Literally, when they say you had to walk to get somewhere, when I wanted to go see my friends before I had my driver's license, I literally would walk 1 or 2 miles to go see my friends because all we were farmland, especially with 300 acres of farmland in different areas, is a lot of walking. Very rural area. But one thing I loved about it, the people were close and they took care of each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's something a little bit newer that I didn't really know so much about you, and it to me it explains your work ethic because I know that you're working your full time job, and we'll get to talking about what you do. But then you go to the karate school and you're there 5 6 days a week. And teaching at a martial arts school is not an easy deal. So you've got a really strong work ethic, and it sounds like that's where it came from. Tell me a little bit more about your parents, and do you have siblings that we can talk about?
My both my parents unfortunately have passed away because of the age. But my father was in the oil industry, another reason too. So he's always a hardworking guy. And when he got off work from the oil industry, his passion was farming. So all he did was farm. My mother was a housewife. She always was behind me. And the funny stories I always share with my students is that my mom was maybe 110 pounds, 5'6", and I didn't have nobody to hold boards when I was trying to learn how to break boards. So you imagine this little lady out there, helping her 15-year-old son hold boards so I could break the boards. She's one of those ladies. It doesn't matter who she met. She loved them. Didn't care who you were. And I think that's passed on to me and my brother. Now, my brother, he's in his 30s now. I'm 16 years older than him. My brother, I helped raise him. But, sorry guys, I got bugs flying around my head out here. But, with raising him and stuff, I learned a little bit more about how to be a father and work around with kids and stuff. She would always just try to motivate us and make us move forward with everything we do. Now, my brother lives in Colorado. He's got 2 children of his own. He works in the sales industry with a lot of electric stuff like that, and he stays busy. We stay in contact all the time. I call him in the morning. Like this morning, I called him. He sends me these crazy videos of my nephews, so I'm always staying on top of that with him.
Very cool. And tell us a little bit about your kids.
Oh, my kids, you got about 4 or 5 hours. You know how it is. You're a
Yeah,
dad. You know how it is.
yeah.
I got 2 kids, and I also have a stepson. But my daughter, still lives in Mississippi, close to her mom. After a divorce, she stayed close to her. She's a great girl, very strong and independent lady. She's off doing her own thing. My son is an actor. He's actually, we can't say anything right now, but he's got some big news coming on. And guys, if you ever want to see a good football movie or anything, go watch 12 Mighty Orphans. Or if you're a big DC fan, he was on the show as Brainwave Jr. is one of the superheroes in what was called Stargirl. So he has a good acting career, but he's a humble boy, very humble, very caring, and loves what he does. And I was lucky with both of them. I also have a stepson who works and runs his own business over in Oregon as well.
Okay, very cool. When you were talking about your parents and you talked about your mom, how she had a very caring side, nurturing side, a very loving side, and that was something that you took on as a characteristic. What were some other things that you took away from your parents in raising your children?
Some things good, some things bad. You learn as you're going through it because, back from Mississippi, it was not, if you were told once, the second time you may wake up and remember it. It's one of those type things. And as a parent, you try to always do good discipline, but you learn as you become a parent. I learned like the work ethic from my father. I learned passing it on to my children. I taught to them about how to treat everybody as you want to be treated. Everybody's equal. Everybody's the same. I learned that from both of them. And I think that really instilled a lot of value in me. The funny thing is growing up with my father, sometimes I didn't think I was working hard enough for him. And then later on, I was with my peers. I see that I guess I'm working okay because I'm either going above or staying with them. So,
Mm,
because he had that, and I think he wanted to show everybody when he was doing things, even into his 60s, that he'd get up at sun up and he wouldn't go stop till sundown. And I think that ethic just stuck with me.
yeah, and you mentioned, some good, some bad. What are some of the things that you find yourself, you catch yourself with your kids, or you catch yourself maybe in general, that that maybe you take a second to think about that, rethink that, and you, like you said, you learn from it.
Yeah. Well, none of this came from my parents. It's something that I've always had to deal with. The ones close to me know about it. I do have rage issues. I've been able to control them through martial arts and meditation and things, but as I've got older in life, I've been able to control those. And martial arts really has helped me with my anger and my control of that. But there's sometimes it does come out. And moving to California has brought it out a good bit since I learned about the 405 and the 101. But that's something I still always have to work on. People don't see that side of me except for people in my close circle. When it happens, sometimes it just takes one little trigger, and I'm trying to work on that. I'm
Right.
trying to always evolve because none of us are perfect. We all have our demons, and that's the great thing about what we do is that we try to help people uh, not have to worry about the things that we did, whether it's like me being a hyper kid or having
Hmm.
to deal with my anger. And sometimes you get an anger in your mind, you're thinking about things that never even happen. Like they said, worrying something we do to ourselves that we shouldn't even have to do. But I
Hmm.
think that's one thing that constantly I'm still dealing with.
Right. Right. Well, and I have to say that I've probably only seen it once or twice, not necessarily, but I saw a different side to Jay, because Jay is typically smooth, gentle, calm for the most part, and then, like, you can see just when the blood boils a little bit, and my interactions are, on the mat, right, and it just, you could see that switch turn. I think, whether it's, Mr. Cox, myself, Nathan Carlin, for the most part, we're down here, and then that one thing just whoo, just
Yeah.
heightens you there. And it's, you're right, we all have our own demons, we all have our own things that we work through. And at the end of the day, you said martial arts is one of the things. You know what did Mr. Cox say here? He said, gentle and calm. That's Jay. Yeah, he is for the
Well,
most part. Come on, I
but you
mean.
but what's funny about Master Cox though, he's him coming to my life has been a godsend. And don't get all sobby when I'm talking to you, Master Cox, but he's always been there for me. There's a lot of stuff I've dealt with him that he's able to help me through and stuff like that. And I appreciate everything he does for that because he knows that side of me real well. It's funny, we were watching 12 Mighty Orphans, and there's a part where my son is real angry in the show. He nudged me in the movie and said, I've seen that look before.
Right, right, right. Something that you could just see transfers down a little bit. Well, let's get back to, and I definitely want to talk about the progression or the evolution of your training. You had a real passion for martial arts at a young age. Starting 15, working through, and then it sounds like you opened your school relatively early. So if you were 15, in the 85,
3 years
86 area, and
later.
then yeah, so you're like 18, 19 years old when you open your school.
Yeah.
What was that like, and why did you decide to do that?
Well, it's something I wanted to do after, watching my instructors teach. I mean, I was still a brown belt. I took the school over, but I wanted to bring it to my small town of Newton, and I started doing the Tae Kwon Do and started teaching out of a gymnastics place. I just wanted to give back to others what it was given to me, and I fell in love with teaching. And I started first as an assistant instructor, helping my instructor out with his studio, and then I decided that this is my time to do it. So I started doing it, and I touched a lot of lives doing it, and it really helped me. It's helped me grow as a person as well. And
Yeah.
as you can say, it's never stopped.
Right. Well, and that's a thing that people, as an instructor, we learn sometimes the most from our students. We
Yeah.
continue to grow on our own by training, but our students can teach us so much. And absolutely, I mean, 100%, we can see how we touch lives through martial arts, how we change lives, whether it's goal setting, discipline, weight loss, good habits, whatever it might be, and everybody goes right to the punching and kicking when it comes to martial arts. They're like, that's awesome, they can defend themselves, and that's 100%, what we teach in our schools. But all the byproducts of teaching that self-defense, there's so many
Oh,
values and benefits to martial arts.
definitely. Think of how many kids you've had in the past that were uncomfortable just talking to other students in the studio. And then later they get into college and you hear that they're acing their communication class or their
Yeah.
speeches or they're putting projects together. And
Yeah.
because they are confident in the way they carry it, you see it in their posture and everything, it changes them. And that's
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it. And like I
Well, we
said, you
see.
don't have to be, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
I was like, that's the beauty of it. It doesn't have to be a punching or kicking. If you get to where you get your mind right and you should walk around with confidence and everything, that right there to me is one of the best things you could have protecting yourself is showing people you have confidence, and you can get out of a lot of situations that way with just how you act. As we always joke around, like your confidence, you got verbal judo, you're good.
Right, right. Yeah. It's funny you say that too. We just had black belt testing this past Saturday, and there's one student in particular who, super quiet kid, pretty talented martial artist for the most part, but, up to first degree black belt, he didn't talk a lot. He didn't smile a lot. He's just, he didn't know how to express himself. And then all of a sudden, this transformation between first degree and second degree black belt, I see him test on Saturday, and, he had to give a speech in front of his classmates, and talk about his parents at our black belt dinner, his yells and his forms, his presentation. I was like, I talked to his mom after the test. I was like, your son has really transformed. I mean, he's almost just a different person. And you're right. They go on to high school, college,
Hmm.
careers, and they have that different level of confidence. And just being able, we had a black belt from out of town who actually tested as well, and he said, just imagine what that's like for him to go and speak in front of his class and have that kind of confidence. That's going to carry him, such a long way. And it's totally true.
Exactly.
So from there, opening the school, what came next? I know that you were highly competitive. You did some full contact kickboxing, I believe, and had some fights, and then you moved here. So let's go from opening the school that way.
Yeah. So when I got out of college, I opened up a full-time martial arts studio. I was the first one in my organization, a full-time martial arts studio. And that's why I try to tell all the guys part of our organization, man, they like with Mark Cox and everybody here, you got so much experienced people to go under to learn from. I had to learn it from scratch, going to some of the people that I really looked up to try to do a studio and everything. So I did that for many years, running the studio while I was still from my 20s into my 30s. Then I got out and we moved around a little bit, just trying to get through the timeline of it. We moved around a little bit and I still trained a little bit. And then I ended up getting out of shape because I was used to being that 20-year-old guy, 3 to 4,000 calories a day, working out all the time, stayed in great shape. Well, those 3 to 4,000 calories didn't go away, but my belly came. And with that, I started getting unhealthy, and I wasn't feeling comfortable about myself. And at the time, I was already trained a little, cross trained a little bit with mixed martial arts and doing different things like that. And some buddies of mine started training and fighting. So I just said, well, you know what? I'm going to jump into it. I was in my mid 30s, started getting back in shape, started helping coaching people. And we had people did kickboxing and mixed martial arts. And I said, you know what? I'll jump in the ring. So my first match, I jumped in the ring at 38 years old. I loved the event. I got beat. The guy was a beast. I got beat from him because I got my mouthpiece knocked out on me. Went to the ground, took me out. I said never again. I trained again. When I did my last fight, I did my last fight at the age of 39. The guy I fought actually fought on Showtime Elite. I don't know if you remember that
Hmm.
fight. He fought on Showtime Elite, and I ended up fighting him later and winning with the rear naked choke on my last fight. That happened around 2009. Then my son was already in 2006 doing acting out here, so we were going back and forth. My wife at the time was living out here with him. 2009, we decided as a family to move to California. I was going to continue training and to do martial arts and kickboxing, MMA, and jiu-jitsu and stuff. But my work got in the way and my schedule got in the way because I'm considered what was called a traveling therapist. So I was always busy. So I got out of it for a little bit. And so at that time, I got out of shape again, started having health issues and stuff. And we moved back to Mississippi for some other reasons. But before that, I'll tell you this story, is that when I started finding out about Krav, I went and tried a couple of classes over in Sherman Oaks, and I got a little bit of a bug for Krav Maga. And we moved back home. I was out of shape, started having problems where they were looking at for me for health and immune system. And I started the vegan diet, which is funny. Everybody knows me now. I'm all about the meat.
Right.
But I started doing the vegan because I thought, okay, this seems like it's going to work. I lost weight. I got regulated back again, and we moved out here. I was getting a little bit back in shape, and I started looking at the Krav Maga. The first place I tried out, I liked a little bit, but I wanted to do more research, and I found out about this gentleman named John Whitman and his style, and I really liked it. And I started looking up studios while I was out here, and I came up across Burbank Krav Maga. I thought that's perfect. I live in Studio City, Burbank Krav Maga. I'll give it a try. Met Chris Crouch, went started training with Chris Crouch. Really liked the system, really liked the people there. That's where John and I became good friends, and one of my best friends, Tori's there. And I said, you know what? He said, we're not part of the witness system. I said, dude, I don't care who you're part of. So whatever you teach, and this is your foundation, this is where I'm staying. And that's how I got into Krav Maga after we moved out here. And during that time, I went through a divorce. At the time, my son and I stayed out here, and I stuck with Krav. I used it to get myself back in shape, and used that as a tool, as a lever to help me reach that. During
Hmm.
that, I did a lot of research on biohacking to stay in shape, and I came up on the keto. Most people, if they see my handle, is Keto Coffee Krav. Keto is one of the things that changed my life. Keto and carnivore diet, and that's where I'm at now with all the transformations. That was the start.
Hmm. You've mentioned a couple times over the course, since you were 18 years old that, you kind of struggled with your weight, or you
Hmm.
struggled with your fitness, and you kind of did this. A lot of people fall into that. I know I can say the same thing for myself, especially when I was teaching a lot. I was focused so much on teaching that I wasn't training enough and eating late and just not really eating good. And then I'd find a reason, whether it was, getting ready to test or starting to compete again or whatever it is. And then you get this like bug to get up there, and then
Hmm.
you kind of have that
Exactly.
little roller coaster. So what was it, for me, it was kind of a matter of time. It was, everybody always says, I don't have time to do this or do that. And that's a whole nother story we'll get into. But when I really took the discipline to make it happen, that's where I seem to find my groove. What was it for you that was, such a challenge with finding the right diet?
I think a lot of it had to do with, just like you said, I just didn't want to make time. It was easier for me to come home, sit on the couch, and your body is already inflamed and doesn't feel good. It's just easier to stay there. So it's just you get that. It's whether you get in a good routine because of good habits or a bad routine by bad habits. It's all a choice, and it's the choices I decided to take. And I will say this, you mentioned the word competition, and it really makes a lot of sense to me because whenever I get in good shape, whether it was for tournaments or getting in the cage, guys, sorry about these bugs. They always want to say they talk about these mosquitoes right now are driving me crazy out here. But
It feels like you're back in
but
Mississippi, right?
oh yeah, dude, especially the way this is changing. But but a competition. So whenever I was training for getting in the cage, or if I was training for any for fighting competitions, I was always getting in shape. I want to be the top shape. I want to be the best I could. And I noticed that really helped me. And one of the biggest things that helped me with my diet is I've actually started doing F45.
Hmm.
I really believe in the F45, which F45 means it's a hit program for 45 minutes. It's become huge, become mainstream. I started at one of the main locations in Sherman Oaks there. Somebody talked to me about keto diet there, and I started trying the program with it. Then I started doing more research on it, and that just took me down the rabbit hole, and it has never stopped with that. But the key to that is that was at F45, they have every so often they had these 8-week challenges. I jumped on the first one, I won it. I jumped on the second one, I won it. I jumped on the third one, I won it. So whenever I was competing, I was at a high, and I was happy with what I was doing. So if I can either compete against myself, or like when we do our small groups, compete with others, I'm always at that high because, like you said, you can be at that high, and then right afterwards, no matter if you want to win or lose, you're back down here again.
Right.
So I'm trying to keep that level through there, and that's
Hmm.
continuing to do competition and transformations. I'm actually doing a transformation right now. The same thing, and it's funny because one of the pictures you put up, I didn't mean to send it to you. It's actually my visual board affirmation because that's what I want to win that contest. So I was looking, oh, I sent Jay the wrong picture, but I said that's okay.
Well, it
No
was
worries. Maybe
impressive. I had to share that one. That was a pretty darn impressive one because you were looking real lean in that one.
I was doing what's called deep state ketosis, which means that only my carbs, I only get 10 grams of carbs. Heck yeah, man, we're gonna always stay at that. Except for the gray. I like my grays. So
Right.
my wife likes it when I keep it thin, so I try to keep it down a little bit. But deep state ketosis, man, where I'm only taking 10 grams of carb, most of my rest of it's just protein and fat. That changed the way I looked and everything. And I'm doing the same thing again now, but at a different leverage. Because at that picture, I was weighing 195, probably around 10% body fat, and which is funny because right now I'm at 182 lean muscle right now, but my weight is 215 and probably about 14% body fat. So I'm gonna have more muscle this time down 10% than I
Hmm.
did last time. So
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
always pushing and always regulating.
So needless to say, you're a pretty competitive person, and that's what's your major drive, whether it's with someone else or just within yourself. And I think that's where the 75 hard comes
Hmm.
in, because that's a major inner competition. Between you and Mr. Cox and a few other people that got on it. I remember you guys talking about it, and I'm thinking to myself, dude, there's no freaking way that I want to do this, because if I do it, then like I get so, and you're probably the same way. I know Mr. Cox is like, you just get tunnel vision. Like if I'm going to
Yeah.
do it, I'm going to do it 100%. And I refused to do it for over a year. And then finally I'm like, "Ah, I got to do it, And I'm currently in phase two, doing the 30-day challenge, which, looking back after you've done phase one, phase two seems super easy in a
Cakewalk.
way.
Yeah.
It does, but talk about 75 hard for you. How did you find it? What inspired you to do it?
Well, it's like you said, it's about competing. I think it's, and Master Cox, if you're still on there, you'll probably remember. I think it was around June of 2019. He sent the podcast. I sent out the link for all of us guys to read about Andy Frisella. Andy Frisella just throws it into your face. And if you guys don't know who that is, he's under the EMF CEO. He's also the owner of our first forum. Huge entrepreneur, very motivating person. Well, Master Cox posted that, and I think I called him up that night. I said, okay, I'm in. I'm in. And that was a great timing because we just had the meeting for our second degree black belt
Mm,
to start training. So I started right away doing that. I think that really keyed in my discipline for that. And that's where the 100 burpees came from after that and all this stuff. Because one part that I got into was called dues paid, and it was raising money for these children. And one of the workouts you can do is 100 burpees a day. And I said, okay, that's definitely something I would get into. I think I tried it. I succeeded twice. I've tried it 4 times and I failed twice. And then my favorite one of them all is phase one. And the reason I like phase one, because like you said, I'm very busy, but it means every part of my day has to be on a timeline. I mean,
hmm
getting up at 5 o'clock to work out, coming back and working out, taking a cold shower, doing my meditation, mindfulness on the way to work. Then during the work and my lunch break, I am reading, and then after reading, I'm to put it in. I don't. So I put in my headphones, and I'm listening to these different type sounds and stuff called binaural beats. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Yeah,
I
you
do.
you turned me onto it. I did it
Yeah.
for my phase one as well.
Yeah, binaural beats, I'll do that to sort of help me with my mindfulness and relaxation. And I really enjoyed phase one, except it really sucks doing phase one in February when you got to take a cold shower. So to make it suck even worse is that on Sundays I wouldn't do the cold showers. I'd go over to Ventura Beach and I'd do a cold ocean swim. So
Nice.
so I would do that. But yeah, dude, I think it really pushed my discipline to a whole different level. Like I said, our inner circle, most of all the people in our inner circle have seen good results from it. Our students have seen good results for it. Just increases your community where you're all on that same level of knowing respect for what we're doing and trying to grow as a human.
Yeah, no, totally. And you brought it up that you tried it 4 times, failed twice, completed it twice. Talk about failure and what that meant to you, or how that changed your thought process for the going into the next time.
Well, when I failed two of them, my mind wasn't right. I wasn't into it. So I felt it and I said, I felt it. The next time I went to it, I had my mind right and went straight into it. It's one of those things. Okay, I failed. I get back up. If anybody ever hears, or read the book or anything about for like how Michael Jordan does stuff, you don't succeed unless you fail. It's how you get up, man, and go from there. And that's what I looked at it as this way. I felt it. I messed up. I took ownership of it. Got my mind right, preset everything, and started over again. And that's what happened with me.
And that's the key thing too, right? Is being able to take ownership and accepting failure. Because sometimes, for me, that was actually the reason I didn't want to do it at first, because I was afraid to fail. I'm like, man, if I do this and I get like 30 days in, I'm going to be so pissed if I fail. But you know what? I have also done it different phases and failed at times. I mean, I failed phase one because I forgot to journal, because that was one of my things. I had to journal, and I didn't journal. I did everything else in that day, and everything up to that point, like, I mean, on point, and failed to journal. And I really had to, like, I was really down on myself, and I'm like, I failed because of this one stupid thing. But then I look back, I'm like, I made it. You know, all these days. It was 26 days. I failed on day 26 out of 30. And I said, but I got 26 good days,
Hmm.
right? And one failure, the old saying of you don't go slash all your tires because you get a flattened one, right? So I actually finished out the rest of it doing everything, even though I failed, right? And I think that's a big challenge for people to
Hmm.
accept the failure, take ownership of it, and just kind of move on. The other thing you mentioned, which has been 100% true for me, is that when I am doing 75 hard, no matter what phase or any kind of challenge, I just really get tuned in and zone in on my purpose and my goal, and it changes my timeline for my whole day. Like, I mean, when you got to do 2 workouts, no matter what, and sometimes I was doing 3, like to schedule your day around that to fit it in. And
Exactly.
there were definitely those nights where you get home and it's like 11 o'clock at night, and you're like, I gotta go do a
Hmm.
walk or do something to get that 45 minutes in. It's
Oh
brutal.
yeah, I know what
It's
you're talking
brutal.
about. It. I remember a couple nights. I had this one telephone when I lived in Sherman Oaks, and it was like 1:30 in the morning, and I would run to that telephone pole. It was out in the park, and it was like a dark area. So that's cool. I may get an extra workout. I don't know, but I did 100 burpees, and then I would run back to my house. And 1:30 in the morning, it's like I didn't get it in. I've got to get it in. And does that
Right.
sound crazy to some people? Yeah. Is it crazy to me? Yeah, because I like being asleep. Most people know I go to bed like at 9:30 or something. Last night before you sent me a text, I was in bed by 7 last night. I was like, hey, Mark Wahlberg can do it. I can do it. But it's just those little bitty things that you do that make you stronger. At the time, they may make you suffer. They may make you feel uncomfortable, but that's how we grow. Like people say, you're not growing unless you're suffering, unless you're changing. And that's what I
Hmm.
look about. I want to spend the rest of my life. I want to evolve as a human. I want to evolve in helping other people. I want to be that old 95, 96 to 100-year-old guy on the mat with my little youngsters all around me. Even if they have to help me get off the mat, I want to be that guy who's evolved to that level that I still train, still roll, throw combinations. It may not be as pretty as I'm throwing them now, but that's what I want. And it's all about continue to push myself, continue to grow. My new thing started in January. Every month, I don't care what it is, I have to do something brand new every month. And that's
Okay.
something a lot of us don't do too. We always stick with the same pattern. I mean, you think about when's the last time you've done something never before in your life? And you
Hmm.
think, okay, how cool is that? Like for me, it was starting Krav, or it was getting training MMA, or if it was like I love doing. My son used to do parkour stuff. We moved to an apartment one time. It's on the second floor. Oh, cool! He just jumps out. It's like you young jumper. And so we'd go out to Joshua Tree and do free running on the rocks and stuff. I was like, you won't unless you try it. How you know if it's going to make you better?
Right. Right. That's a cool challenge, if you will. Right. Try something new
It
every
was
month.
it was a little hint to you, Jason.
Stop doing that. My wife, every time you or Mr. Cox or someone posts something, she's all, "You don't have to do every one of these," and I'm like, "Yes, I
Yes,
do.
you do.
Yes, I do.
Yes,
I
you
have to
do.
do it." Hey, so let's get back. You started training in Burbank, with Chris Crouch and working out with John. And where was the connection with Mr. Cox? And then you're teaching in Simi Valley now. Talk about that change.
This is a pretty interesting story. Mastercard's training partner moved to Texas, Fred. And it's funny, the whole situation. Master Cox posted on Facebook. I've met him several times for my yellow belt test and stuff. And he was bummed because Fred moved away and he didn't have anybody to train with. And I didn't really know him that well. But I was like, if I had the chance to train with the gentleman who created this organization and I can work one on one, I'm going to do it. And I called him up and we started training. That's when he had the cage in there. And we started working on grappling and started rolling the stuff together. And that's how we ended up getting closer and working together. I got a couple of ribs out of place and everything from rolling with everything, but it was all worth it. And you may even remember this too. I was looking later on his starting studio. We were looking at Moore Park, and, right over there, we're just doing the Millennium Wrestling and stuff. And we was looking at that. And I was going to try to get that going and everything. And then I think it was February of 2015, if I'm not mistaken. That's when we got the news of what happened to one of our instructors got hurt. And I, again, I wanted our our schools to grow and have things. And sometimes I said, sir, I'll come in, I'll run it. I'll do what I have to do. And lo and behold, 2021, I'm still here, loving every minute of it, teaching, growing as an instructor. watching all these little guys grow up. Now I got some of them going off to college now, and I never knew back then, I mean, that this would be this well. But I had a goal when I told you I moved away from California, right? I moved back here in 2011, and one of my goals was I'm going to do Krav Maga and be an instructor one day,
Hmm.
and that's where I'm at right now. And that's because of that one uh, Facebook post that Master Cox did about having a workout partner. We're still workout partners. I consider him one of my best friends. He's my mentor. I'll always be loyal to him because he puts his heart on his sleeve. And whether you like it or not, that's there. You're gonna get the good and the bad. Whatever you need is coming at you. And because of him, I'm here at the studio and making it grow.
Yeah, and just in the last, I think Garrett was Garrett the first black belt out of CME?
No, Frank was Mr. We
Oh,
call him
Frank was.
Mr. Frank. Yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Frank
And,
was. Go ahead.
yeah, and Garrett and now Stephanie, and you've got kind of a group in this last years where I've seen maybe a lot of growth. And interestingly enough, that in the last year we've been dealing with all the restrictions and
Oh yeah,
whatnot,
that's been a lot of
but
fun.
you've still been able to work through that and produce black belts. And black belts in Krav Maga is no joke. I mean, it's there's a not only a lot of time that goes into it, but the training and just the realism in what we do. I mean, I don't think people really realize when they say Krav Maga, there's obviously some schools out there that are going to be your, you know, for lack of a better term, kind of lower level, kind of intro type stuff, and maybe a little bit more fitness based. But what we do, I have not seen anywhere. I just don't see what we do, in the house and all the weapons training. For a lot of the Krav Maga associations out there. So I mean, I just think that that's so unique, and we're just building more and more of a team, within AKMF and within the schools and all the students. All of our schools seem to be continuing to grow. What do you really attribute that to?
I have a lot of trips with foundation, like like you are in Tang Sudo. How much have you seen Tang Sudo change over the years of what you guys are teaching? It continues to grow and evolve, right? And I think it's the same way is because the instructors that come into this organization, they bring so much out of it from whether it's Hapkido and the gun defense, like from Master Cox stuff, or if it's like with Master Carlin with the Kali and the knife defense stuff, the Dog Brothers. It's always growing and evolving. And also, like when he's talking about when he's going off training in Georgia or at Fort Benning stuff, and you're trying stuff, does it work or does it not work?
Right.
And like the whole symbol of the kufim, the symbol for Krav Maga, techniques will come in, and techniques will go out. What works, what doesn't work. And I think because we're trying to see what works in more of a realistic, stressful scenario is what helps that grow. And it's one of those things that, like you said, is in your face. But if we want our students at the end of the day go home safe, and that is giving them the top college training, and at the end of the day, are we giving them what they need to survive and go home safe? And that we talked about before, that doesn't have to be just learning how to defend yourself. That's being able to control yourself under stressful situations, be more aware of what's going on, the people you keep in your inner circles. And that comes from what we're doing. We build a Krav family. It's like we build a Tong Sudo family. And it all starts out with that beginning, that foundation. If you've got a strong foundation, just like if you're doing anything with construction, you got a strong foundation, it's going to last through the roughest storms. You got a weak foundation, the smallest wind's going to blow it over. And I believe in that foundation.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%. Well, we got about 5 minutes left because I know you got to get back to work.
No
Let's talk
worries.
about work. Let's talk about what you've been doing. You mentioned you went to college initially with a focus in kinesiology, I believe you said, and then you kind of switched over a little bit. And now you're a therapist. Talk about what you're doing for work now.
I'm what's called an occupational therapist assistant. I work with a lot of people who, right now, I work in a geriatric population, but I work with a lot of people, and my specialty is more neuro, from brain injuries to strokes to back surgeries. That's my main focus. I also work with orthopedics for people who have hip surgeries, knee surgeries, but I work on that whole spectrum. Occupational therapy first got its start in a lot of the more of the psych setting. So I still work with patients with a lot of the cognitive issues, which understandable with strokes. I can work on that side of it, but that's where we got to stay. And we just more moved forward to the different areas. And the main thing, just like what we do with, is increase people's quality of life. So You know what they always talk about in the old philosophies of martial arts. If you can learn how to hurt somebody, you still know how to heal somebody. I believe that's the philosophy I look at. And it's funny because you've seen it in many tests. Something happens, I hear my name cross the floor, and here I come.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah,
I love what I do because my patients become my family, and I love working, seeing them get better and grow. And you deal with people's families too, and there's a lot of going on with that, and they need that person to help them through that, to talk about it. What's going on with my loved one, or my mom, or my dad, or my wife, or my brother. They need that help, and okay, this is what we got to do together, work through it. uh I being a caregiver has been one of my, I guess, one of my talents. I love taking care of people. I had to help take care of my father when he had cancer and was at home with my mom. Then I had to help raise my brother, and I've raised a stepson, and then my own children, and I've helped other people, and with my own in-laws as right now. So, that's part of who I am. I love that side of it. It's stressful. I won't say it's not stressful. I think it's gave me a lot of gray hair, especially over the pandemic. Um,
yeah.
one
It's been a
one of
different.
Yeah, one of the cool things is it's not out yet, but they did an interview with me for a national healthcare association on there, and it's asking me about how I felt through the pandemic. So whenever that gets out there, I'll give a little clip. I don't want to tell people. Most people know how I am. I'm going to tell you to your face how I feel, whether it's good or bad. Sometimes it gets me in trouble, but I believe that people should know what's going on right away. I don't want to be passive aggressive about it,
Well,
just because I believe, unfortunately, our feelings get hurt sometimes. But is our feelings get hurt, or is it something we really need to hear? You know.
right.
So, but it shows though from you can have full compassion and love for other people, but you can also have that side that you want to teach them how to have the art of violence to protect themselves.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, listen, I want to thank you for taking time, out of your day just to talk with me a little bit, tell your story. Really appreciate it. You are definitely. I feel that you are kind of that strong silence. Sometimes, you have this very, as Mr. Cox made fun of me, but for the most part, I usually see you as a very calm, even keeled, respectful. Um, I've never seen you like really tee off on anybody, or really that other side for the most part. Other than sparring, I saw you tune someone up pretty good once. But you're a martial artist through and through. You've got a great demeanor, and you're definitely a helper. Is how I kind of look. See, he's making fun of me again. Silent. He's pretty quiet most of the time. Calm,
Well,
but
see,
he
you
can
got to.
turn it up.
Well, he also knows the side of me. There's only, you know me because we talk a lot too, but on my inner circle, there's only a couple of them that know me who I am. It's like you got that. Everybody has that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You just need somebody to help you keep that Mr. Hyde at bay. Uh,
Right.
yeah, he'll also joke too. You'll have to ask him. I'm not going to say it on here. You'll have to ask him what my nickname they gave me though.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool on that part of it.
Well, he'll probably comment it in just a second. But
He probably he
anyway,
probably will.
anyway, hey, thanks again. Thanks again for your time.
Oh, it's my
Do me a
pleasure.
do me a favor and just take like maybe the next 20, 30 seconds. And what advice do you give people that are struggling, whether it be with their diet or their workout or challenging themselves? What advice would you give people that are watching that just need a little bit more motivation to get to that next level?
Well, I'll start first with diet, guys. The one thing about diet, not everybody's the same. What works for me is not going to work for you, vice versa. I don't care what diet you're on. If you find something that fits your lifestyle and makes you healthy, whether you got to put cheat days and stuff in there, look at it and work with it. It's something you have to build over gradual. For most people, if they jump into it gung ho, it doesn't work for them. They jump off the wagon. So find something that works for you. And if you need help, reach out to some people. I mean, reach out to me. There's so many people inside of our circle, especially in our area, that are so talented with diet and what I more than call it, not diet, I call it a lifestyle. These are lifestyle changes that make you better. Working out, same thing. All of us are different. Some of us have injuries. Some of us are stronger than others. You find workouts for you and slowly build on them. The workout I'm doing now will not be the workout I do 3 months from now. My body will change considering what I'm doing. If you're looking for a sports specific workout, look at some workouts to make your sports better. If you're working out for longevity or health, look at things that are going to help you. Mobility, you having problems with mobility, look at something for mobility and stretching. Everyone is not set on the same thing. It's not a cookie cutter thing. It's something you're going to have to do and work on yourself. Reach out to people, research. Thank God, that's one thing. There's a lot of stuff on Instagram that I don't care about, but my son jokes to me, says, "Dad, every time I turn around, there's a half naked man on your thing." I said, "Yeah, because these guys freaking, this is what I want to be at 52 next year. I want to be walking around with a six pack. Right now, my keg is just covered in ice. I want to get that six pack out, and that's what I'm looking at." So it's for everybody. It's a little bit different, but just stay focused, stay on the course, and don't give up.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for that. And just a reminder to everybody, guys, keep watching. We'll be back next Monday. My guest next Monday will be Chong Park. And then we have Nathan Carlin coming up, Ricardo Laborio, Jason and Adam Kiefer, Rich Grogan, and Ali Alberigo to close out the year. And then coming in 2022, I will continue with more guests. And I'm also going to throw in a couple panel type interviews. So Jay, I'd love to have you back. Maybe you and Mr. Cox and John, some of our
Oh, that'd
AKMF
be fun.
guys as kind of more of a panel type discussion. So I'll be throwing that in there next year, and who knows who might come on the show. I've got a couple potential guests that I'm trying to get scheduled. So I always love this interview each week because as long as I've known you, I learned so much more about you, and I just I take a
Same.
lot away from what you're saying. So thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, guys. Everybody have a great day. We'll catch you next Monday. And thanks again, Mr. Jay Walker. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Larry.